Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Co-op Podcast, episode 163. I'm your host, Richard Billy Jr., and today I'm joined by Deadpool. How's it going, Deadpool?
Hey, what's up, guys? I kidnapped Gary this week, so I'm sorry he won't be here, but I'll be here hanging out with you guys and talking about video games. So let's get
Deadpool, you're
to it.
sounding kind of British right now.
Yeah, well, I had an incident with Wolverine and he kind of chopped out my voice box, so I had to like get, a new voice and everything. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, glad to have you on the show. Pretty sure you'll have something to say today. We also are joined by Mr. Jakejames Lugo. How's it going, Mr. Lugo?
I'm doing good, Rich. Happy to be here and excited to talk about games. We're a couple weeks away from E3, so hype is at an all-time high.
Absolutely. I know there have been a few leaks, but definitely looking forward to actually hearing everything. This time next week, we'll actually be at the EA conference, so that should be very interesting. Um, but yeah, as I said, we do have quite a bit of topics to discuss this week. But before we do, have to figure out ask what everybody's been playing. So, how about you go first, Mr. Lugo? Let us know what you've been playing.
So without getting into a lot of impressions and stuff, I've been playing a game under embargo. I've actually been playing Odin Sphere for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation Vita. It's also available on PlayStation 3, but those are the two main versions I've been messing around with. So again, our review is going up this week on June 1st. So I believe that's about Wednesday is when it's actually going up. And we'll actually be able to stream Odin Sphere. I'll be streaming Odin Sphere, giving you guys impressions and talking about the game both on PlayStation 4 and on PlayStation Vita once the review goes live. So you guys should definitely look forward to that. It's an interesting game that I'll have a lot more to say on it when I'm allowed to. But also on my spare time, I've been streaming various different games, including Pokken Tournament on Wii U. Been playing a little bit of Super Smash Brothers, as well as dabbling in a couple games here and there. Specifically going back to Doom on PlayStation 4, to get various collectibles and stuff. I've been doing a lot of work all over the place, including places like IGN, where I posted up a bunch of videos on there. But just for the most of my spare time, I've been going back and playing that just for fun overall. But other than that, that's what I've been kind of messing around with. I'll have more to say on Odin Sphere later this week.
Sounds good. And a very quick question for you. Now you can tell everybody. So, would you recommend Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
That's one thing I forgot. I completely just shows you how forgettable the game is itself. But basically, our review of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutants in Manhattan went up. I reviewed the game for PlayStation 4. It's also available, I believe it's on Xbox One as well. But overall, the game is just pretty bad. I mean, Platinum Games overall is just not that great. I mean, as far as developing this game is not that great. They didn't put the same type of magic that they had for Transformers Devastation into this game because there's a lot of missed opportunities. I mean, they have a lot of cool designs for the characters, including a lot of cool TMNT characters that you haven't seen for a while from the IDW comics, but the gameplay itself is just not that great. There's a lot of bugs and glitches I ran into. There's a lot of instances where I feel like some of the levels or stages are just repeated in order to make it look like, different environments, but it looks like the exact same stage. And then there's a lot of problems even with the multiplayer. I mean, I went online a couple times, on multiplayer, which is the exact same thing as the single-player game, and overall, it just wasn't that fun to play. So definitely a miss for Platinum Games. Hopefully the next property, if they decide to do another 80s property, it'll be a lot more better than this one.
Wait, so what you're saying is that the game is just as messed up as the movie?
No, here's the funny thing. The game has no kind of connection to the movie whatsoever. They get a lot of inspiration from the Eastman and Laird comics, the IDW comics. It's that darker take on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, from way back when, and has no connection to the Michael Bay produced movie that's coming out really soon.
Well,
But what I will say,
thank God for that.
yeah, exactly. Like it's kind of like I'm glad it has no connection. I like the more kind of traditional take on the Turtles. Again based on those classic Eastman and Laird comic story outlines or story arcs and stuff. But I feel like this one has all style and no substance.
Well, I also did get a chance to have a look at the game. I didn't play it yet, so I look forward to seeing firsthand how horrible the game truly is. I must tell you right now, I'm very concerned about Scalebound now that Platinum Games they're also behind that game. So we'll
You
have to see
should
how
worry. You definitely should be worried because Platinum Games right now they're really stretched thin. It's like the guys who do The Walking Dead, Telltale. They're pretty stretched thin right now with all these different properties.
All right, so I do have something to say about that. I'm gonna save that until when we get into the first topic. But sounds good. So Deadpool, have you had a chance to play any games as of late?
Well, usually I only play my own game, but this week, I decided to play some Uncharted 4, which is a great game. I'm still very early in. I'm like at the Scotland stage, but it's really good. I'm really like it. Like the graphics are so like the presentation of this game is incredible. Like Naughty Dog did a great job. It looks just as good, if not better, than The Last of Us. I'd say better. It looks better than The Last of Us. And, I love the way the characters move. Like, it feels really authentic and everything. So far, it seems like the story's real slow. Like, it builds up kind of slow and everything. But I don't have a problem with that so far. But I'm hearing that it's a very lengthy game compared to the previous games. So I'm not sure if I'll get fatigue with the game eventually. But so far, I'm really liking it. And also, I've been playing, of course, Overwatch, which I'm actually reviewing. So look out for my review on the Koalition.com pretty soon. But that game, we're going to talk about it later. So I won't say too much just yet. But I'm having a lot of fun with Overwatch. I really really like it. It's a really fun game. And I hope that the fun lasts because this game's future kind of depends on whether people continue to play it and how they play it. If people just if they don't play it correctly, it might not be as fun. But I'm playing on the PC and the community seems really good. It seems like people really know how to play the game. They know what they're doing and everything. So that's good. I'm not sure how it is on the console, but console gamers tend to move on pretty quickly anyway to the next game. So I don't know what the long-term future is going to be like for the game. And, obviously there's a concern with the amount of content in the game. So we'll have to see what happens with that, I guess. But yeah, look out for my review coming soon. I did some stuff on YouTube about the game as well, so go check that out. And that's really all I've been playing this week. So, yeah.
Sounds good. As for me, of course, I've played a little bit of NBA 2K16. For those that don't know, the game is currently you're able to play it for free over this extended Memorial Day weekend on Xbox Live right now if you have gold. So I would definitely recommend that. There's also a rumor that the game might be PlayStation Plus's game next month for free. I don't know if that rumor is true, so we'll find out this week when they actually reveal which games are actually going to be PlayStation Plus games. But that's worth checking out. I still have a review of Battleborn that is coming. For those that are wondering why it has been late, it's been a very busy schedule. But I'm pretty sure that Gearbox will very much appreciate the review because the game is not getting too many good responses right now. So I do have a couple of things to say. Unfortunately, it won't be all positive, of course, but for those that are interested in the game, I heard that the price is currently reduced. They did that. They did that on purpose this week when Overwatch came out. So very interesting decision. But look for my review for that very, very soon. And I've also been playing a game called Soul Axiom, which I cannot talk about. The game released on PC back in February. It's coming to PS4 and Xbox One the same week as Mirror's Edge Catalyst. I can't talk about the game quite yet, but what I will say is if you had a choice between buying this game and buying Mirror's Edge Catalyst, I would tell you should buy Mirror's Edge Catalyst. That's all I'm going to say for right now. But yeah, that's pretty much all we've been playing for this particular week. So we do have quite a bit of topics to get in today. One question I want to ask before we get into these topics. I'm pretty sure you guys saw the Mighty No. 9 trailer. So I would love to get your thoughts on that particular trailer because I have something to say about that. And I thought about that when you mentioned Platinum Games spreading themselves thin because this is another studio that has a lot of projects going on. So that's why I wanted to address that. So how about you tell me what you think first, Mr. Lugo? Actually, we can't hear you. There you go.
You should be.
We got
Okay,
you
there
now.
we go. Yeah, technical difficulty here. Basically, what I was saying was, that might have actually been Kenji Inafune trying to mute me for what I'm about to say. But basically, what is it? I thought that the trailer was a little bit tone deaf, like what a lot of people thought. I think that the game is fine. We've seen the game. We saw the game already, like the past E3 or two E3s already at this point. I think last year at E3, I played it at the Square Enix booth. I remember the kiosk being there, and everybody has had the same general consensus. They want the game to come out already. I feel like this game has been already kind of like gestating for a while now, and a lot of the hype and a lot of the enthusiasm for a lot of people that were interested in this, especially the Kickstarter backers, has kind of diminished over time. I think that this trailer is just another kind of like, point for everybody to kind of be really mad at Kenji Inafune or mad at the studio developing this game, because it just felt very kind of like, archaic in the way that it was kind of presenting itself. The whole VO about, feeling like an anime fan on prom night. I feel like, that kind of type of mentality has long since passed for a lot of people. And I think that the people doing the marketing for this game need to kind of realize that. I mean, for whatever reason, I don't know why they thought that was the best way to present this game. I felt like they should have presented a little bit much more of a gameplay-centric trailer rather than trying to kind of just, boosting their ego a little bit or boosting themselves in like a much more late mid-90s type of way. As far as like, presenting yourself with the marketing and the publicity and the commercialism and stuff like that. So again, I think at this point, stop the promotion for it, or at least just show different like gameplay trailers and just release the game already. Don't even do anything much more like stuff like this. I think everybody has a bad taste in their mouth already at this point. Right now, I hope at least when people get the game, maybe that changes. Again, I hope that the game itself and the final product is really good. From what I played and what I remember from E3 last year, it was pretty solid. And I think that was the general consensus from everybody. So now just give us the game at this point.
I agree with that. I saw the trailer and I was like, well, man. The first thing I saw when I saw that trailer was the ridiculous number of dislikes the trailer got, and I said, well, I could see why a lot of people disliked it. But I mean, yeah, the game needs to come out. The people who have invested in it, it's about time they actually finally get a chance to play it. So I'm fine with it. I particularly don't think it looked good in my opinion, but again, I don't really think that's going to make a difference. Those that have backed it, they pretty much have made their investment, so now they're going to get the game that they invested in. This is not a $60 game. Also, it's not a full price game, so I'm not saying that means that it needs to be a certain level of quality, but you get what you pay for, and I think I still think that the long-term goals of this particular franchise, I know they want to do more with this than just a game. And they could do that depending upon how good the game actually turns out. So we'll have to wait and see. Is it a game that I'm planning on picking up next month? I don't think so, because there's going to be too many other games I want to play before this. But Deadpool, do you have any thoughts on the trailer? You're muted.
Sorry, technical difficulties here too. I apologize. Yeah.
I tell you, it's Kenji Inafune up to no good. Watch.
Yeah. I gotta come clean. I actually didn't see the trailer, so I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on my thoughts on it. But I mean, just the ongoing delays and just the way that this game was handled kind of got me disinterested in it to where I'm not even, I don't even really care much about Mighty Number 9. So that's how I feel about it at the moment.
Well, I'm pretty sure a lot of people, I guess that some people do care about it, others don't. But hey, they should just be happy it's coming out and just leave it at that. So we'll see how it does from here on out. A lot of times I notice a lot of people complain about a lot of things that is horrible. It's going to be a disaster. and then it comes out and it turns out to be pretty decent or better than expected. Case in point, the X-Men movie. Because I saw X-Men Apocalypse. I'm not going to say it was an excellent film, but it was a hell of a lot better than Last Stand. So,
I haven't seen it yet, honestly.
Oh, you haven't? Okay, well,
Not
yeah,
yet.
you got to see it.
You know, I was supposed to make a cameo in that film, but they couldn't afford me. But hey, yeah, I heard it's a good film.
Well, they couldn't afford you anyway because it's an R-rated film. You know, you ain't supposed to be doing anything outside of an R-rated film. So,
Well, hey, I mean, if I'm sober, then I won't swear as much. So, you know, all they have to do is not give me the alcohol.
okay, we'll keep that in mind for future reference. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's get into the main topics this week. First topic. Sony announced that Uncharted 4 has sold 2.7 million units in its first week.
Well deserved.
Absolutely well deserved. I believe that the sales are based on digital and physical copies, which is something that a lot of companies don't really show because they normally just show how much is sold physical with the NPD, so on and so forth. So we do have to, again, congratulate Sony on that. Along with that news, they also announced that PlayStation 4 has already hit 40 million units sold. So the question I have for you guys is, now keep in mind that over the last couple of years, there haven't really been that many exclusives that Sony has had. They've had a lot of third-party games that they perform better on that platform. But now that we're in a year where we're going to get a ton of exclusives, plus VR, is it safe to say that, do you think it's possible for those numbers to double by a year from now, or what are your thoughts as far as the sales and now that Sony actually has a lot of stuff that they're going to be releasing?
You want me to go first or JJ?
Oh yeah, you can go first. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Gary.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it's crazy, 40 million units. So, like, wow. I don't know how they're doing it, but I feel like the momentum is going to continue at this point because they got the VR coming. Uncharted, is already come out. So Uncharted used to be that one game that everybody was waiting for, but now it's out. So I don't know what the next one's going to be. Obviously, there's Gran Turismo, but I feel like VR is going to be the next big push for them because games-wise, exclusives-wise, I'm not sure anything is as big as Uncharted is as a brand, apart from Last of Us. But it might be a while before we see Last of Us 2. I mean, there are other exclusives to look forward to, like No Man's Sky. Well, for some people, not me. And what's the other one? The Last Guardian, of course.
Last Guardian's a big one.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, but so I feel like the momentum will continue. And of course, with the PlayStation Neo and other stuff that's supposedly coming for Sony, I feel like they're gonna, continue this momentum. I don't see it slowing down, but we're gonna talk about Microsoft later, but depending on what the competition does, we might see people go for other options as well as the Sony PlayStation. So it'll be interesting to see what happens and how E3 changes things. But it seems like they're going to keep up this momentum with the sales at this point.
I think it's more than just that, though. I think, obviously, games like Uncharted, a lot of the first-party exclusives for Sony, or at least the exclusive games for Sony, are definitely contributing to that. Again, Naughty Dog's Uncharted 4, testament to how good a studio that Naughty Dog is. That game is going to be talked about a lot, pretty much by everybody as far as Game of the Year talks is concerned by the end of this year, and deservingly so. I think also the hype and the kind of like excitement for games like No Man's Sky, like The Last Guardian, and obviously the stuff with PlayStation VR is all contributing factors to why PlayStation 4 is selling pretty well. But I think also you can't discount also all the other third-party games that are out there that might not be necessarily exclusives, but are still kind of like being games that are going to be associated with the PlayStation brand, or why a lot of people are going to be getting those particular titles on PlayStation 4 specifically. Even though they're multi-platform, they're also on Xbox One. Games like Final Fantasy 15, games like Final Fantasy 7 Remake, eventually Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8, you know, obviously RPGs and stuff, but there's a bunch of other games as well down the line that might be coming out later this year and also into next year, into 2017, or maybe have just been delayed into further into 2017 that people are still going to get on PlayStation 4. So I think all of that together is, you know, a good combination for Sony that, again, is a huge win for them, and they have a lot of good stuff that, you know, really looking forward for PlayStation 4 down the line. Again, I'm with Gary. I don't think the momentum's going to stop. I think eventually it will, but I don't see it coming down anytime soon with all these big games that are going to be releasing over the next year or so.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Gary.
I was just gonna say, like, although I don't actually see the momentum slowing down anytime soon, I do think E3 has the potential to change a lot of things, though, because it depends, like, what Microsoft shows, you know, with their new consoles or, you know, whatever they're doing, and then if Sony fails to show the value in their VR headset and the new PS4 model, then things might decline a little bit in terms of sales if the general public isn't happy with what's shown. So there is potential for it to decline, like, sales-wise, but I don't see it happening. I feel like they're going to continue the momentum. All the companies are pushing VR, so I feel like regardless, that's going to be the big push. But as for Microsoft, I'll elaborate more on that later as we talk about that topic. But yeah, I mean, at the moment, it seems like Sony's unstoppable. So I'll give them that. Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, I just was going to say, I mean, I agree with everything that you both said. Yeah, obviously there is a ton of momentum that Sony has. They definitely deserve to be recognized for the sales. Now, one thing I will say is that I do think that, like I said before, there's a lot of people that I know they've heard about the PlayStation 4 Neo, and they said, well, no, I'm not going to get a Neo because there's some people who don't like that. My thought is that, well, if you purchase the console at launch like I did, because I bought both the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 at launch, this is almost about 3 years since I purchased that console. So I don't see any complaints with upgrading to a better console within the 3 years, because I figured that there will be some benefits to doing that. Now, of course, it's going to determine how Sony will present that. Everybody knows it's going to be VR is the main functionality point, but it's all in the presentation of how they do that, which is going to get them to convince people to say, okay, yeah, maybe I'll throw down the additional $400 or whatever it costs to get this console. And also those that already have a PlayStation 4 that may want to consider trading it in, I would hope that there is something that they will do in terms of that, because I can tell you right now, I wouldn't recommend anybody trade in anything to GameStop.
Never trade in your hardware, people. Never do it.
No.
I learned the hard way, and don't do it.
Oh, wait, you did? Well, tell us about that.
I've done that in the past before, you know, for a variety of different reasons. And really the main things that people would trade in their hardware, their consoles, especially if it's more contemporary, is because obviously for money, you know, financial issues or whatever. But I think that if you're trading in your stuff, your hardware towards like another console or towards anything in gaming or whatnot, it's usually a bad idea because you are almost always going to be losing money. You're going to be losing value to that console because you'll trade it into GameStop. You're not going to get the full amount, nor at least a decent amount towards something. I did that in the past where, was it with my Xbox 360, believe it or not, where, again, I was just sick and tired of most of the stuff that was happening with it at the time, you know, with the Red Ring of Death and all this other stuff. And I traded it all towards a bunch of PlayStation 3 stuff. But still, it wasn't getting as much value as at the time, I believe I should have gotten. So it's always, again, depending on one situation, it's always going to have some sort of element of loss to that. But again, I think that, you know, for most people out there, you should always keep your consoles no matter what. Because you never know, you might go back to them for whatever reason.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I actually got rid of my PlayStation 3 as soon as the PlayStation 4. I started playing the PlayStation 4 a lot more. I do regret that decision to a degree because there was a couple games that I haven't heard about remastered versions coming to PlayStation 4 yet, and I am not going to use the PlayStation Now service. This is just not going to happen. So I do regret that to a degree, but I do agree. Don't trade in the consoles. Definitely should keep them if there is still stuff that is actually coming out for them now. From what I understand, Sony's still supporting PlayStation 3. We know Xbox 360 support is over, so that may be even more incentive as to why you should keep your PS3 if you still have it. But yeah, I mean, in terms of them already hitting those sales numbers, yes, it's an excellent feat. You have to give them credit for that. No matter if you're a Sony fanboy or not, and even if you like Xbox more, you still got to give respect to the other guys for doing what they're doing right now, because it is pretty much a big deal. As for Uncharted 4 sales, yeah, again, I have to agree with what you guys said. You know, this is a game that it deserves. I mean, this was the game where we already said this is a console seller. This is going to be a big deal. So I'm not really surprised by those numbers. I did see some people releasing statements about it killing Halo sales and all this other stuff. You know, well, listen, this is a franchise that's very important to Sony. I mean, I've said multiple times it's a console seller. So again, not surprised. It deserves credit. Those that want to compare Halo to this, first and foremost, two different games. That's a first-person shooter. This is a third-person shooter. And then here's the other big difference. Bungie didn't make Halo 5. 343 Industries made Halo 5. So to make that comparison, it just doesn't make any kind of sense in my opinion, because this is not like, you know, Naughty Dog. They have always been working on Uncharted. So that just doesn't make any sense to make that comparison.
With the exception of Golden Abyss, you got to throw that in there, because again, that was technically an Uncharted game. Which, who knows, maybe in the future that might change now that Uncharted 4 is kind of over at this point, or at least Nathan Drake's story is over at this point, I should say.
Yeah, well, I personally don't think. I think they need to work on something else. I'm pretty sure we'll see a Last of Us 2.
That's almost given at this point, I think.
Yeah, no, I think that's a definite given. But I don't want them to continue to work on Uncharted. They can if they want to, but I think they've shown what they did to Last of Us, that they can try something different, and it's successful. So I will be interested to see what they can do besides sticking with Uncharted and Last of Us. One last thing I will say, though, again, about the sales. I know you guys brought up that it'd be interesting to see what the next big title is. So I know, Gary, you said, I guess that's Wolverine coming back for Deadpool. Yeah.
Came for revenge.
Yeah, so I know you already said Gran Turismo is probably going to be the game. You know, VR support, it's a good shot. No Man's Sky is another great game, but I would have to say I really think, personally, that game is going to be Horizon. Because
I'll agree with that, definitely.
I think I know Last Guardian is coming out. I can tell you right now, I don't know if that's a game that everybody will want to play or they have an interest in.
They're probably going to want to play it because, again, the mystique behind it, the story behind the game rather than the game itself. That's the same thing with Final Fantasy 15 even. It's more that everybody's enthralled with like how crazy that development process has been, besides what the actual game's going to be like. Because you're going to see a lot of people mixed about Last Guardian when it comes out, even though it's going to be very similar to Shadow of the Colossus and Ica.
Yeah, hey, see, that's a good point. Yeah, very good point, and also the fact that there's a lot of people that they didn't have a PlayStation last generation for whatever reason, and now they all want to be able to see what these new experiences are. So that's a very good point. The other reason why I say Horizon is because from what I have seen thus far, Horizon is going to have a hell of a lot of attention at E3. We already saw the artwork that was on the building that they have down in LA for that game. So I think that's going to definitely be a huge title for them. It's just like when you see it, because I saw a trailer the other day, and I didn't know what the trailer was at the beginning. I said, "Oh, what is this? This looks like it's Far Cry Primal," but that game is already out. No, and it was a Horizon trailer, and I was like, the trailer looked fantastic. So I really do think that's going to be the next major big title. But there's no doubt about it that Gran Turismo with the VR support is going to be a big deal. There's no doubt that No Man's Sky will be a big deal. And if that game has VR support, that will also be a big deal. So quite a bit of things coming out to look forward to. A few other games we didn't discuss yet. Neo will be pretty good for Sony. And of course, like I said, whatever else they reveal at E3, which we'll find out about soon. So,
Yeah, I'd like to say something going back to Uncharted, just briefly.
mhm.
Um, I feel like Naughty Dog, like sometimes a studio will get so popular to the point where they are like the franchise, like, and I think Naughty Dog has reached that level, and that's why they're selling so good because like now, obviously they have Uncharted and Last of Us, but I feel like there's people that are just Naughty Dog fans, like there might not be
I
just
agree.
Uncharted fans or just Last of Us fans, they're actually fans of the studio, so they're gonna eat up whatever they make. And there's been a few different cases of that, like
Kojima
Rockstar,
Productions.
Kojima, yeah, that's a good one. Kojima, Rockstar, there's studios that people will just buy their games and buy a ton of them, no matter what, like, no matter what they put out. And I feel like Naughty Dog has reached that level. So, I mean, the people who are making all those funny memes and stuff about Halo, like you can't compare the situation because 414, what are they called? 41, the developer.
Oh,
I don't
343.
yeah.
343, yeah, my bad, I always messed that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it- they are someone who inherited the Halo series, so
Hmm.
you can't really make that comparison because Naughty Dog is just a really super popular studio, and these guys are developers that have inherited this series that was built up by Bungie, and I mean the core Halo audience, they still play that game no matter what, and they're happy what they're getting. But on a mainstream level, it's just that Naughty Dog are more popular, so that's what it is. I mean, the memes were funny, don't get me wrong. Like there was some hilarious memes. Like I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, to those people, you can't even really compare the situation. You know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's the point that I think had to be made because I feel like a lot of people will instantly jump on that. But again, that's the one most important thing to remember. Bungie didn't make that game. It was already going to have to be a lot different from what it was. And then as somebody who played the game and reviewed it for the site, I was not impressed with the story. I think the next Halo game will be far better, but I think if there were a lot of people that didn't support it, well, I think that makes perfect sense to me because all the issues they had with Master Chief Collection eventually it got fixed to some degree. But yeah, just a different game altogether. But again, wanted to give props to PlayStation. I know some people will come on here and will say, well, this is a Sony fan site. No, we play everything. We like everything. We review everything that we can when people send
Literally
us.
everything.
Yeah, everything. Even people who give us a hard time with certain review copies, which I'm not going to talk about now. But yeah, we review everything that we can, and you'll see a lot more of that on the site. But just wanted to give props to Sony. Looking forward to going to the conference. Looking forward to all of V3. But yeah, wanted to make sure I mentioned that. Now, we're going to jump on to the next topic, which no doubt will probably be a lot said about this. Rumors have started speculating on multiple outlets that Microsoft is going to announce two consoles at E3. They're going to announce the Xbox One Scorpio, which is supposedly 4 times as powerful as Sony's PS4 Neo, which is also going to be announced. And they're also going to announce an Xbox One Slim, which is supposed to come out later this year. The Scorpio was supposed to come out sometime in 2017. Now, first and foremost, the question I want to ask is if these rumors are true, do you guys think it's a good idea that Microsoft is going to be releasing two consoles pretty much 1 year apart from each other? So how about you answer that question first, Mr. Lugo?
I don't think it's two separate consoles. I know there's been a lot of rumors and there's a lot of reports. I think it's Kotaku that actually broke out the news, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was the first one I heard about it, and then everybody else started sourcing. I don't know if it's necessarily two consoles. I would actually more believe it if it's one. Like if it's an actual slim, and again, kind of like what they did with the Xbox 360, and then it's a little bit more powerful than the past gen model, or at least the previous model from before. Because to me, it seems like two consoles would be a little bit much. Then again, I'm not too like well versed as far as like the technological side of that ecosystem of the Microsoft or the Xbox ecosystem, but I would more believe it was just a one brand new console, very similar in the same type of approach that what Sony's doing with PlayStation Neo. Again, powerful new model, or at least things might be a little bit different as far as the inside, the guts of the actual system, as well as also maybe other any other cool new things that they might actually want to promote alongside this new type of hardware with it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Deadpool, you have anything you like to say?
Yeah, I do think it's going to be two consoles. The Slim, which I feel like the Slim is going to be the replacement for the current Xbox One system, because obviously there's a lot of people who complain about the size of the Xbox One. So this would be a good replacement to just replace the normal model that's out at the moment. And it's probably going to be the same price, same specs and everything. It's just going to be a new design, basically. I feel like that's what they're going to do there. And then the Scorpio, of course, is going to be, the high-end upgrade version of the Xbox One. And it makes sense that it would be more powerful than the PlayStation Neo, because Microsoft really needs to do that right now to get an edge in the competition. That needs to be their focus, to beat Sony on the specs, and I feel like they're gonna make sure that they do that, because they know that they messed up with, there was certain things that made them mess up with the launch of the Xbox One. Don Matrix being the biggest thing, but yeah, I feel like this is their chance to really get back in the game and put things right. So I feel like they're gonna go all out on that Scorpio system. So yeah, I do believe there'll be two new Xbox One consoles. I don't feel like it's a big deal like people are making out, because they're saying, oh, why are you bringing out two new systems and blah, blah, blah. But I feel like the Slim is just going to be a replacement, I think, for the current Xbox One,
But isn't that kind of like the same thing, that people were kind of complaining about with the PlayStation Neo or the PlayStation 4 Neo, if you think about it? Because as opposed to it now just being one console that everybody's saying, like, why do we need this new version of the hardware right now? Now they're giving them two different models. So again, it's kind of like almost doubling the same type of issue those types of people would have. Again, if you have an Xbox One.
Oh yeah, definitely. And to be honest, like, I have a problem with this too, to be honest with you, because I'm a PC gamer. So with me, I would rather just invest in a GTX, 1080 or 1070, and I'm cool with, like, I can play all third-party games. I don't have to worry about upgrading the system again and blah blah blah. And that's actually what I'm gonna do. For both companies releasing two new or having two different options on the market is an annoying thing for consumers. I feel like console consumers, they don't want this hassle. They don't want this headache of having all these different options to play their games better or different performance. They don't want to think about that stuff, and that's the appeal people have with consoles. Is you buy this console, the games are optimized for it. You don't have to think about optimization and which console plays the game better. Like, you just buy the console, that's it. They don't want to think about it. It just gives them an extra headache. So I'm not supportive of this new approach from both companies. But I feel like, just looking at it in terms of business, I feel like this is a great opportunity for Microsoft in particular. Just looking at it from the business side of things. So yeah.
All right. Well, okay, so I do have a comment to make about this. Now, I will say this. In terms of the Slim, I have the belief that if that Slim is announced, and I think you may already know what I'm going to say, if the Slim is announced, I wouldn't mind if Microsoft decided to give everybody who attended the Microsoft conference a Slim for free.
You wish.
Oh yeah, hey, listen, they did this with the Xbox 360 Slim.
I don't think that's gonna happen. I think that, as cool as that would sound, we all walk away with free Xbox One Slims. Well, no, I don't think they can do something like that right now. I think back then, what caused them to kind of do something like that, or at least get on everybody's good side, is because of all the stuff going on with the Red Ring of Death, with all the consoles failing back then. Mm-hmm. I think that was the contributing factor. We don't have that now. They're just making new hardware, making that other extra option available to consumers to buy again in the store. But my point was to the question I was asking Gary, is that, again, isn't that technically the same thing? Because, again, everybody that owns either an Xbox One or PlayStation 4 and hears this news and stuff, I think they're going to get more hung up on the fact that they already spent this amount of money on the hardware, expecting that they're going to get this type of life cycle with it. It's not the same, I don't think, with the 3DS, where it has the 3DS, the 3DS XL, the new Nintendo 3DS, and the new Nintendo 3DS XL. I don't think it's the same type of like approach with that. I think that more because what is it? You're putting so much money into this home hardware console where everybody, the kind of general expectation is that you spend that $500 or so, buy whatever games that you can over the course of the lifetime, and that's that's going to last you more than 5 years or so. It's going to last you a while. This is the same type of approach that I heard someone talking about it, where it's kind of like phones, where you almost buy a brand new phone almost every single year or 2 years. That isn't mildly that different, but just minor upgrades here and there. I think people just get a little bit restless because they feel like it's that same type of approach, and we don't really get that in the console space.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I guess they, as Gary said, they want to give some people, as you both said, they want to give people some options as to how to, get them to get it, basically just get an Xbox One or get a, just play their games, so on and so forth. So. Yeah, I think you made a very good point about the Red Ring of Death. So I'm prepared to not get that console for free, but that Slim should be a very interesting announcement once it does happen. As for the Scorpio being more powerful, I don't really believe any of this information until we actually see it for ourselves. I know that there were a lot of fanboys out here that already heard about this, and then they just decided to use it as ammunition to attack the other side. And I think that's just silly. Nobody knows nothing about any of this information, so you can speculate if you want, but until you have any information, we can't say for sure we know this is going to be better.
That report, though, did blow it out the water, though. I think it's true, and I think Kotaku helped spill the beans on it.
Oh, well, yeah.
Well,
keep in mind, it wasn't just their sources or whatnot that were collaborating messed up the word. Were kind of like almost kind of confirming this like that. There was other websites again. I think it was a Polygon. And I think also at IGN they had a bunch of people that were all saying variations of the exact same thing.
Kotaku better be careful with what they leak because I heard they got like a lawsuit. The parent company Gorka, they got a pennant. But yeah,
that's a
yeah. Just to say something else. There's also the rumor that the Xbox One is gonna now work with the Oculus Rift, which would be fantastic.
That would be
that would be
very big.
Because Sony's going full on VR, so Microsoft kind of needs that. They need something like that, to really get them in the game. And if they say, Scorpio is going to be more powerful than the PS4 Neo, and it supports Oculus, then that's a big deal for them, I think. And I feel like that's why it has to be more powerful than a Neo, because we all know that you need a high-end PC system.
You need it for all those devices to have a ridiculously good PC in order to run any of those VR devices like the Vive or the Oculus in order to have a fun time with it.
Yeah, and the Oculus is like I think it's the most high-end, most powerful one. So yeah, they're definitely going to need a powerful system to run that. So it makes sense if they do that.
Well,
PlayStation VR was the only one that you didn't need it, right? Obviously, because it works with PlayStation 4.
Say that again?
I said I think that the only kind of leg up that PlayStation VR had was that you didn't need a high-end PC in order to run the PlayStation VR.
Yeah, you don't. I think it even runs on the standard PS4, so it's
Well, we don't know the limitations with that. Whether it maybe it'll be like a lower end version of what you would be getting. So yeah, you have to wait to see that. All of this stuff they have to really do a good job explaining, because with PlayStation VR in particular, since that's coming out later this year, and they won't have any other opportunity to do it unless they have something at maybe Gamescom or later this year. But yeah, they're going to have to explain that a little bit further. And I don't really know if you are going to be able to provide a demo on stage, because we saw that the last time they did that demo, didn't work out too well.
It's very hard to do that with VR. I think that, like what Sony's been doing, or at least some of the talk's been going around about having them at different like Best Buys or having them at different department stores, so people could just go and try themselves. I think that's the best way to kind of showcase VR, because on a stage, like you remember last year, they showed some of this type of stuff, or at least talked a little bit about it. I think it was with Microsoft with the Google, the type of like glass thing that they did with Minecraft. And then they talked a little bit about it with PlayStation VR during the Sony conference. I think that's just very difficult to do.
Speaking of that, I'm gonna give a special shout out to David Jagno because now he works for Upload VR, but he actually showed me a video that they released for the HTC Vive, which basically shows you how it works. It shows you how people are sitting in a setting, and then how it looks also as they're playing. That is the type of videos Sony needs to be looking at if they're going to start marketing this device, because the video is fantastic. It gives you that's how you do a demonstration. So I would hope that once they really do the marketing behind this, they're going to have a lot more of that type of stuff to give people a full example of what they can expect. But yeah, as far as what you guys said about the systems having to be high-end to support VR, well, that makes sense now if that's what the intended goal is with these systems. I do know the Oculus on Microsoft, that I do agree that definitely has to happen. And I know that there was a developer that has already come out and said that they're working on a VR game for Microsoft, so that's why it will make sense for that to happen. But I guess we'll be in for a treat when we see in a couple of weeks whatever Microsoft does announce. But I do think that in terms of that system, again, as I've already said, I've had the Xbox One and the PS4 at launch, so if I have to upgrade it, I don't have a problem doing that. There's some people who would disagree. If they just bought a system, obviously it's not really for them. I mean, it's going to be more of an annoyance to them because they have just purchased a system. But if you had the system for a while, I don't see what the issue is upgrading to the latest, greatest hardware, especially if it's going to help with the games. But we'll see about that. Yeah, I mean, not really much else to say about it because, again, all of it is speculation at this point until we get the hard-hitting facts. But definitely looking forward, definitely excited, definitely open to the possibilities of whatever these new consoles are going to become. So we'll have to stay tuned for that. You guys have any other final thoughts on this topic before we move on?
No, I'm good.
No, I'm just excited to be at E3 to see what happens.
Yeah,
yes,
me too.
Absolutely excited.
Hype.
That's right, hype. So next topic. This is a topic that I didn't really understand the level of ridiculousness that this particular subject would get to, but it has to be discussed because it really is a question that I really want to get you guys' opinions on. So we found out a few days ago that No Man's Sky has been delayed. The game was originally supposed to come out in June. Now it's delayed until August 9th in the U.S. and August 10th in Europe, I believe. So Sean Murray from Hello Games, he released a statement saying that he has received death threats because they announced this delay. In addition to that, the reporter that announced the delay also received death threats.
Jason Schreier for Kotaku.
So now I want to ask the question, just what do you guys think about the situation? Because I think it's pretty ridiculous overall, but I want to get you guys' opinion before I dive deeper into my own thoughts. You go first, Mr. Lugo.
Well, basically, the way I feel on this is that, and I think we should clarify that at first, it was death threats getting thrown at Jason Schreier. That was when it first came up because he put a news report. He was talking about how GameStop's had, some sources at GameStop's had actually sent him some pictures of the actual No Man's Sky promotional material getting, blocked out by a coming soon sticker because that was their directive at GameStop in order to make that happen, which kind of alluded to this game getting delayed. So that started one whole thing. And then when it finally, after all the kind of a little bit of damage control, I guess that, Sean and the rest of Sony was actually trying to do right beforehand because they kept saying, no, it's not true, the game's not delayed. And then all of a sudden they came out and said that the game's delayed. Everybody flipped out, or at least that small, concentrated group of people flipped out. I think it's kind of sad and a little bit ridiculous how we get so caught up in this outrage culture because a lot of people just, they put so much faith into something happening, they put so much kind of emphasis and kind of weight into something that's going to go down, whether it's the release of a game, whether it's the way that a game's going to turn out, or they're kind of like hyperbolic, views of a particular game, movie, whatever. We get so caught up in this outrage culture that we kind of lose out on rationality. What sense does it really make to send someone a death threat, number one, which is bad in of itself, but also someone who's actually trying to make the game good for you? I mean, think about it for a second. Sean, the guy that, or was it heading up the studios that's making No Man's Sky, this was the guy that everybody fell in love with that when he came up during E3 and talked about No Man's Sky because he was a little bit kind of, a little bit nervous or whatnot on stage, but he was like really genuine. He had a really heartfelt, genuine nature to him when he was talking about this game because he went through hell to try to pretty much make this game. It was a really struggle for him and the rest of the people at the studio. And I think it's kind of a little bit counterproductive or as backwards, for lack of a better phrase, that people that are excited about this game are throwing shade at the guy who's trying to make it. He's trying to make it good. I think that, obviously it goes without saying that. I think Miyamoto said it, and it's been passed around for a while, that a game that gets delayed is going to only be better. That, a game that's rushed out is going to be bad forever. That at least, not really verbatim, but kind of like, pulling here and there from what it was said. But basically, I think it's just messed up that if you're a fan of No Man's Sky and you're doing this, you're not a real fan of No Man's Sky. And that you should turn in your gamer card as it is right now because this industry and this fandom has no place for that. Okay, it's let alone that a lot of the death threats that are being sent out are empty and they're done by people that are just mad on the internet because of their anonymous nature and that they just want to put it out there to show how upset they are that a game is getting delayed, which they're going to still buy the game at release, which is, kind of given all of us that are interested in the game are going to get the game when the game finally gets to release, whether it's released now or later on. But throwing out an empty death threat, something that saying that you're going to kill somebody because you're upset of what their opinion was about the game, or the fact that they're not going to give you the game right now or at the original date that they have projected because of whatever else, that's kind of sad. And it tells you something about not only the generation of gamers that are now, over the last couple of years, because this has been a thing over the last few years. It's just only kind of blown up a little bit more so now, even though it's highly looked down upon. Bottom line, if you're doing something like this, turn your gamer card in, check yourself at the door, and just leave.
Yes, absolutely.
Well said, though.
How about you, Deadpool?
Yeah, it's stupid, man. Okay, me personally, I've been harsh on No Man's Sky, the game, just because I don't really understand the appeal behind it. But with that being said, I still appreciate, the hard work that goes into producing these games. And as, someone who's produced content and stuff before, I understand that you don't want to put that stuff out until it's ready and until it's, of a certain level of quality. You want to put out a quality product, So, I mean, it's just what happens. Games get delayed. We've seen it happen loads of times before, and I understand that there was a lot of anticipation for this game and people have been waiting for it, but that doesn't, justify you sending threats, death threats over the internet. Who does that? Why? I don't understand.
That's been a thing over the last few years, and the thing I don't understand is that why is it that everybody gets so mad, over the fact that they're just not having something done specifically for them that they've banked on about a game, and all of a sudden it just gets them so upset that they feel like they just want to threaten somebody's life. I mean, let alone the guy who's developing the game. I mean, not only is that kind of stupid in of itself, it's kind of counterintuitive thinking where it's oh, if we kill the guy because he's delaying the game, and then at that point we might not even get the game afterwards if that was to happen. Yeah. Hypothetical, which is stupid, but it's just on such a ridiculous level of crazy internet fandom or just crazy internet approach to stuff. Again, outrage culture of this day and age.
Yeah, it's really stupid. I mean, you kill the guy, then what state will the game be in at that point? Once he's it's stupid, man. I think people are just doing it because it's something to do at the end of the day. They're not serious about killing. They wouldn't do that. They just want something to do. They just want to be heard. They want attention. We live in it's a generation of attention whores basically, and that's why they do stuff like this. And it's sad.
One more thing I want to say that I think is a good point that we should keep in mind for when this game eventually does come out. You're going to see kind of something very similar as far as outrage. When people start talking about the game and the game's out and maybe it might not live up to the expectations of some people and the reviews start coming out, you're going to start seeing that similar thing get thrown at different outlets and different people that are looking at the game. Not only I'm pretty sure Jason Schreier, maybe he might not review the game for Kotaku or whatnot, but you're still going to see people getting all upset and acting stupid and acting a fool once after release, I feel like. Again, especially if the game's not as great as what we're hoping it to be.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I think you both made some great points across the board. One thing I did. There are two things in particular I do want to say. First and foremost, Hello Games. I've been playing their games ever since Joe Danger was around. That was how I first got introduced to him. I had actually had a chance to meet Sean at E3 several years back. Great guy.
Sweet guy.
Yeah, very, very, very intelligent, and they're very passionate about the games that they make. So I took offense when I did hear about the death threats. It's like it's just ridiculousness. People need to understand also this is a small team working on this game. This is not a studio with 60, 70, 100 people. They made that very clear. When the game was announced, it was only 4 people. I think maybe it's about maybe 9, 10, maybe close to 20 now. But they made it very clear in the beginning it's a small team. So you had to understand it's going to take a while for them to do things. Plus, this game evolved over time because when they was revealing information, more and more stuff they started to add over time about, well, you can do this, you can do that. So you have to take into account it's going to take a while for this game to come out. And I think the delay is fine. A lot of people gave Uncharted a big, they were complaining about Uncharted because that kept getting delayed. Look at what you got as a result. You got a fantastic game that, clearly the time was needed and it paid off. So this is the same situation. Now, I don't know if the game is going to live up to the high standards that people have for it. All I know is that I'm definitely excited to try it because this is something totally different from what they've done with their previous work. So I appreciate them willing to go and try something different and be more ambitious with their goals. So I will support the game for that reasoning. Now, the other thing I did want to say is what you guys said about the generational stuff is 100% accurate. I believe we live in a time now where there are a lot of people that definitely want to be heard. I can see them having protests left and right. They decide to have petitions for stupid stuff because they want to see change happen within the industry. But they need to understand.
You see that review, the petition to get the review for Uncharted 4 removed from from Metacritic?
I did see that.
I forgot which outlet. I think it was for. I don't know if it was for the New York Times or some non-gaming outlet that was reviewing the game was reviewing Uncharted 4, and they gave it a mediocre score or something. But people were that offended, they wanted to go make a change.org petition to remove it from the actual Metacritic scoring, the average. It's just people are that ridiculous that they think that stuff that has no rational thinking behind it is okay to do. That's what I think is the problem with this generation. It not only comes from being anonymous on the internet, but just on the simple fact that because the internet allows you to connect to a bunch of people, that it's so easy to find people with similar opinions like that they think it's okay to do these types of things. Not only that, it does kind of a little bit of a detriment in the perception of us as a gaming culture, as a gaming community, or a gaming just overall medium in general. It makes everybody look bad.
Yes.
That's like the thing what happened with Naughty Dog. Remember they were talking about how they had to remove someone from the testing for Uncharted 4 because they felt that person was acting real sexist and stuff like that. Let alone the guy acting a fool during the time when he was actually playing Uncharted 4, for whatever reason. But everybody else, or at least there was a bunch of other people that thought that was cool, that he was doing that. That all of a sudden they were taking shots at Naughty Dog because they felt they were feeling one way or another PC or whatnot. And it just gets a little bit out of hand at some point. Again, it's this overemphasis on outrage culture.
Yeah. Wait, Deadpool, you had something you was about to say?
I was just gonna say stuff like that infuriates me because it's they petitioned to get the guy's review taken down, but at the end of the day, that review is his opinion. Now,
Exactly.
you also have an opinion. You obviously love the game and think it should get a perfect score. That's your opinion. So now you want to force your opinion on everybody else? Is that what you're trying to do? It's stupid.
Problem. The huge problem with it is that everybody, or at least not everybody, I shouldn't say everybody because that's a generalist statement, but those vocal minority or that small group of people always think that it's okay for them to put their opinions out there for everybody else, but for everybody else, it's not okay for them to hear their opinion. And that's what's wrong. We see that all the time with a lot of the bigger outlets. You've seen it with us here in the Koalition a couple times here and there, where we've had a couple things, where some of us have reviewed games or we've talked about certain stuff, and some people may not agree with us, but then you have those few people that are out there that get so upset that they think that all of a sudden now they either want to question our credibility or question our kind of integrity, or not just us but everybody else out there, simply for the fact of just putting an honest opinion out there.
I actually want to reply to that very, very quickly with an example. because I recall that Edward Velasquez reviewed the Devil May Cry game, DMC. Gave it a
DMC
great,
the review, right?
yeah, gave it a great score. And at the time when we had done some stuff with the design where we were able to do backgrounds and stuff, so we put up a wallpaper. Somebody looked at that and said, "Oh, now this game got a good score, so obviously the review was paid for." Look at all the images they got on the site from.
That's such a stupid type of excuse or a stupid shot to take at anybody, not just us.
Yeah.
But I think at any outlet, because you hear about it with the bigger outlets all the time. Just because they have ads on there or they have pictures of the game that they reviewed or whatnot, and they give it whatever score, automatically someone's corrupted or somebody got paid for. That's such a tired argument for like over the last 2 years that it's at this point it's like beating a dead horse, and it's kind of stupid. It's almost passive. It's being that guy. That's how low it's kind of hit at this point. It's being that guy. That's always going to make things, just crying wolf for the sake of crying wolf. And it's stupid. It's this outrage culture that just needs to stop because everybody looks foolish. It serves no point to greater discussion on a game or just gaming in general or the industry, and it doesn't help anybody.
Yeah, it's like when Tony reviewed Far Cry Primal as well, and like he did a really good score, and everybody was like, "Oh, you got paid to do this. This is a paid for review." Like, it's stupid. Like, the whole thing with reviews has gotten just so ridiculous this generation, and it really, like, as somebody who helps to run a website, it makes me mad that you can't just have your opinion without a wave of people trying to like discredit you. Just because they
that's like the in thing now.
with you.
That's like the in thing right now for some people. Again, and I'm telling you, watch when No Man's Sky comes out. Watch when The Last Guardian comes out, or any of these other big games. Final Fantasy VII Remake, Final Fantasy 15, which is coming out in September. Yeah, watch when all these big games come out. You're going to see the exact same thing play out. There's going to be a bunch of people that get upset at what other people are reviewing the game for, or all these different outlets, including us, I'm pretty sure. And it's just that, again, people just think it's okay or like it's the in thing to be accepted amongst the general masses on the internet if you start getting outraged over little things like this.
Yeah, I mean, JJ, I don't know if you want to talk about it, but it happened to you as well with your Naruto review.
I'll touch on it a little bit. Basically, yeah, like, full disclosure, I reviewed Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 4 for IGN. It was my first big IGN review, which, by the way, I also did the guide for it. So I played the game inside and outside and backwards to get that review done and actually really know a lot about what I was talking about, and strictly because I was a fan of Naruto. And I came out and said stuff about the game that I felt that it wasn't that great. It was mediocre, and everybody jumped on my back, about why is it that they felt I was wrong. And it was a lot of Naruto fans. But again, it was really not only just because of that, because of my opinion, but also just the simple fact because of the outlet I was reviewing it for IGN. And just, again, it was like the cool thing just to hate on the outlet just for putting an opinion out there, or saying that one person was wrong and demonizing the whole outlet. Again, that's become a fad amongst people that just don't know any better. That it's really that person that isn't into the industry a lot. It's that person that maybe doesn't follow a lot of gaming stuff a lot, or maybe follows a select portion of video games, whether it's different franchises, different genres or whatnot, that thinks it's okay to do that. So it becomes a mass group of people just doing the same thing, and that's why it gets so much spotlight of attention, even though it's a vocal minority of people. But I digress. Hopefully within the next year or so, maybe very much sooner, maybe people smarten up and decide not to actually act like fools and not send death threats, stupid death threats, to the people that develop the games that we're all going to buy.
Yeah, yes. I mean, there's a lot of people who are going to probably disagree with this, but sometimes I miss Last Generation, because Last Generation you had a ton of fanboys. Like, the fanboyism was crazy. but Last Generation, you could talk your shit. You could state your opinion, and people would just, if they disagree with you, they would have a discussion with you or a debate with you or whatever, and that's fine. But now it's like people are doing petitions. They're trying to dig up dirt on you, discredit you. Like, it's gotten so dirty this generation, and I just don't like it.
I do agree with that. I would like to make two statements, and let me give a warning that this may be deemed controversial, but I think it does have to be said. When it comes to reviews and opinions, I do believe that there is a general consensus of some out there that if they are so much a fan of a particular franchise, then it doesn't matter how bad you talk about the franchise, they're going to disagree 100%. And I will give you the example of when I reviewed Halo 5. We had a certain individual that said, "Oh, you're wrong." They hadn't played the game yet, but they said, "You're wrong." Then when they played it, they of course they can't say, well, no, I can't say I can't change my stance, even if he
That's
is
the
right.
funniest part.
Yeah, exactly. They say I can't change my stance because I've already said he's wrong, so I'm going to continue to say you're wrong. There are people out there that do that because I've seen it firsthand. Pretty sure that's exactly what happened in your situation as well. That yes, people who because they are such big fans, they say, well, no, I disagree completely. That review is incorrect, and that is just wrong. Again, it's an opinion. You have your own opinion, then that's great. Have your opinion, but don't criticize someone else's opinion because you disagree with them. Because I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. You can
Or
disagree to disagree.
to kind of tie it back to Sean with No Man's Sky, I think it's also that, again, if you disagree with what's happening or maybe you dislike what's happening with the game and such, I don't think you need to demonize that individual or you need to demonize the grouping of people that are developing the game or making decisions for the game. At the end of the day, it's their product that they're selling that you're going to buy anyway at that point. Whether you get it now, whether you get it later at that point. But I think that if you care or you at least have an iota of like an emotion towards not only the way that gaming as a culture, as the fandom, as a medium is really kind of like perceived by the general public, or at least, you know, in your own inner circles and stuff, you wouldn't do something like that. Again, especially at the rationale that sending a death threat over a video game is stupid of itself.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And this is the final statement that I'm going to make on this particular game. I know people won't like to hear this, but yeah, I'm going to say it anyway. I don't know who the people are that put out the death threats. I'm going to assume that maybe these people are Sony fans, because I wouldn't make sense for a Microsoft fan to put out a death threat for a game that is on PlayStation. So I'm going to say this. If there were any PlayStation fans that did put out their death threat, they really need to have their heads examined because they have had a fabulous year with games thus far. Ratchet & Clank came out last month. Uncharted came out this month. So I'm pretty sure you could wait for this game. You shouldn't be sitting here complaining because somebody is not going to release the game when they said they're going to release it. The console is on top. It's selling very well. You have games that are coming out this year that are out now for it and more coming. So why don't you just shut the hell up, wait for the game, and then play it and have fun? That's as simple as it is.
And then leave. And then leave gaming. Leave. Just there has. I feel I'm of the strong opinion that that type of mentality, that type of approach to doing things, that type of like vocalization from people has no place in gaming. Has no place in this industry. Has no place in this fandom. Has no place anywhere in any type of medium whatsoever. Especially if it's something over. If it's something over a thing that's trivial as video games. If that's what you really have done on forums or whatever, do us all a favor and just leave. Don't even play video games anymore. Just be gone. And that way our lives are a little bit better knowing that your toxicity is not going to taint what we love to be a part of.
Exactly.
Yeah, you both said it, man. You summed it up perfectly, both of you.
Yeah, very good. So that's it for that. I look forward to maybe perhaps we will run into Sean during
E3. If I see him, I'm buying him a drink. I'm getting him an ice cream soda. Sean, if you ever listen to this, I'm getting you an ice cream soda if I meet you.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm looking forward to the game, so we'll check it out in August. But we're going to move on to the next topic, and this is a topic that I'm pretty sure that Deadpool will have a lot to say about, because I do have a certain thought about this. But Overwatch, okay, this is the game that everybody is talking about right now. It's of course Blizzard is behind it, so this is why it has so much attention. I mean, I went into Best Buy yesterday. I see nothing but Overwatch posters all over the place. Game is selling out on PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. Now, here's the question that I have to ask, though. From what I see Overwatch, I played the beta. I remember that the developers said the beta is essentially the finished game. It's what the final game was going to become, which is understood. I had a hell of a lot of fun with the beta, but I personally did not think that it had much content. Very similar to two other games that I thought were fun, but didn't have much content. Evolve and Titanfall. So the question I would like to pose, and I would like Deadpool to answer this question first. Will this game still be relevant a month from now? because I personally think that after I've seen Evolve and Titanfall, this game probably won't last that long. And I think it's a little ridiculous that there are some people that have double standards, because some of the same people that I know that said they didn't like Titanfall and they didn't like Evolve, now they love this game. So what are your thoughts on this first, Deadpool?
Okay. Someone who's been playing the game, I really enjoy it. I love Overwatch right now. Most times, because I got Uncharted 4 as well, and like most evenings I'm debating, okay, should I play Uncharted? Should I play Overwatch? Overwatch always wins. Now, I don't know how long that's going to be for, but at the moment, the way I feel is that Overwatch separates itself from these other games that you mentioned, like Evolve and Titanfall, all these Battlefront, all these games, these online-only games that lack content. I feel like Overwatch separates itself just because the gameplay is so fun and the characters are so detailed, and it's like, even though there's not that much in terms of content with the single player mode, and there's not that many difference in the actual modes that you can play, it still feels like it's a world within itself. Like it just feels like it's this universe you want to explore, you want to keep playing inside of, because it's just that exciting. And with Evolve and Battlefront, I mean, Battlefront is the biggest offender because it's based on Star Wars. So like, it's based on Star Wars. You would think there would be stuff to keep you playing, even if there's not enough modes. Like, you would think, oh, this is a universe I want to play in because it's Star Wars and I love Star Wars. But no, like, they just didn't do a great job with it at all. But Overwatch is just, I don't know, I can't explain it fully. It's just, it keeps you wanting to play, just the way it's set up, the dynamic of it. I feel like it's a lot of the teamwork and the balancing has a lot to do with it too, because I really like how the characters bounce off of each other, like their strengths and weaknesses come into play. You got to figure out, how to approach each situation, the best characters to use, and the fact that you can change characters in the middle of the match is good, because you can really form a strategy with your team based on what's happening in the match in real time. Just dynamics like that just make you keep wanting to play. And now the downside of that is obviously that it's the future of Overwatch depends on the community, like what happens with the community. Now, on consoles, gamers tend to move on pretty quickly, like they'll move on to the next game or whatever. On PC, I feel like Overwatch is going to be the new Team Fortress 2. I think it's got that potential, and obviously Blizzard are going to add new content to it as well, and that will keep it fresh over time. And I feel like it's going to be a big esports game too, so I feel like those two facts are going to give this game legs, and it's going to carry on and on to some degree. It will probably have its own niche audience eventually that will continue to support the game, and it will be enough to sustain the series, like to where Blizzard are happy to keep supporting it for years to come. So, I feel like, Overwatch does have a future, and I feel like it will get much more content, and the game itself is just so good that it's worth waiting for that content, I feel like. Whereas those other games, it was just, okay, Evolve, I'm playing this match, now what? There wasn't anything there to grip you and keep you playing. Like, once you play a few matches, it's like, okay, let me play something else. Like, that's it. So I feel like Blizzard just did a great job, and also, with the prices and everything. I'm not sure on I know Overwatch was fully priced, but I'm not sure if they had other tiers. But with Overwatch, there's actually a cheaper option. Like, you can just get the core game for I don't know the dollar value, but you can get the core game for $29.99 in the UK, and then like you can get the Origin version that has some unique skins and some other digital content, and that's the full priced version.
Is that on
So,
PC or for the consoles as well?
I'm actually not sure about that. I'm not sure
I
about
would
that.
assume that's on PC because I don't remember hearing that for the PS4 version.
Yeah,
Okay.
What you just said, there is no cheaper option for people over here. They only buy in the $60
Oh, okay.
version.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Fair enough. I guess in that case you can compare it. But with the setup that on the PC in Europe, I don't know if it's just exclusive to Europe or something. But
Now,
there's different tiers, so that I
now,
feel like that's good.
now, here's the thing. I'm not sure if the PC is different because the PC, that deal may apply to PC over here as well. I'm talking specifically about the console. There was no option for a. You just straight up had to buy the $60 version.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Okay.
so
Wow.
and what my main complaint is that I don't really know if the game is worth the full price. I mean, when I look like I said, I played the beta. The beta was fun. All right, it's a fun game. I'm not saying the game is bad, but when I look at as someone who has reviewed Evolve and Titanfall, I very quickly I got the sense of, okay, here we go now. We played these games, and I'm thinking to myself, where's the content at? Now, a game like Battleborn, which now apparently a lot of people have dropped off. It's the same situation where it has a lot of characters that you could choose from, so on and so forth. But it at least has a single player campaign to a degree. It is somewhat of a campaign in it. So unfortunately, though, that didn't make a difference because people are like, what the hell is this game? It's not Borderlands 3, so I'm not going to bother with it. So that's unfortunate, but yeah, that game is not getting any attention. But this game has got a ton of attention for all the reasons because Blizzard is involved, because it's a multiplayer game. I just thought that when I played this and when I played Evolve, it's like I don't understand where the hype is coming from. I understand Blizzard is a hell of a lot better at making games, period. So I think that has something to do with it, but it's just that I was a little floored when I saw everybody, like I said, everybody playing Overwatch. I signed on to PS4 or Xbox One, everybody playing Overwatch. I said, what the hell is the big deal about this game? Where everybody is playing it, but
Yeah. I think a lot of it as well is just the fact that Blizzard, they're good at making really interesting characters. Like you can just look at the characters and you want to know more about them. You want to see them. Like a lot of people were complaining because they didn't do like a short movie or something inside the actual game. Because I know they did some short like web series or
yeah.
something based on the characters. A lot of people want to know more about the characters and their story and stuff. So I agree they could have done something with that by adding, some more movie clips into the game and stuff, just so we can explore these characters. Because the thing is, the characters look so great and they're just so interesting, the way they're put together, the way they're designed, and the powers they have and stuff. Like it is so interesting to use them and see what they can do, that you just want to learn more about the characters and the world that the universe that they're in. So I feel like that's something that's hooked a lot of people too, just the general characters. Like they were able to come up with a good cast of characters.
So I do have another question. Before I ask that question, do you have any thoughts on this game, Mr. Lugo, or Battlefront? Because you reviewed Battlefront, so are you still playing Battlefront today?
I'm not really playing a lot of Battlefront today. I did play a little bit more of it when some of the DLC came out for it. And I'm probably going to go back to it again as more DLC starts to trickle out for it. Because remember, they have other DLC involving Cloud City, Bespin, and a couple other stuff coming down the line. Again, they have this whole schedule of content that leads into next year. And then also keep in mind, they have their stuff getting ready for Battlefront 2, which is probably going to focus on like the Force Awakens content more than likely. But that's way down the line. As far as right now, I'm not playing it as much. Overwatch, I haven't played a whole lot of it. I played little bits here and there. Again, I have a couple friends that have the game. But also I've seen a lot of the gameplay, and I've seen a lot of people talk about this game and actually, again, do different streams of it on Twitch TV. And the general consensus for Overwatch is that it's very positive overall. I think that really draws people to this game, outside of it being very similar in the way that it plays out and the way it's designed to like Team Fortress 2 with a lot of different character classes and about abundance of character classes, I should say, because the one thing about Overwatch is that each different type of character class, like the tank, the healer, the sniper, whatever, there's multiple characters that you can play as, and they each have all their different abilities and stuff. And I think that's very cool for a lot of people that like this style of game, because there's a lot of variety and there's a lot of differences in all the different types of matches that you'll end up playing. I don't think all, like, 2 matches are ever going to feel like the same, because while they might have a similar build or similar of teams with different classes that, very designed the same way, there's still an abundance of characters amongst them that makes each person feel unique and different. I think also the other thing too, as far as the characters, there's a lot of personality involved. I think that Blizzard has this kind of talent for making characters ooze personality and stuff that people can really gravitate behind. I think also a little bit the controversy about the butt stuff, with the character, I think Tracer helped contribute to it, because that was the thing that just people were just talking about for a short period of time, and that seems to have gone completely because the game is so fun to play overall. And I think also there's a lot of nods and a lot of kind of like inspirations from other arena-based shooters in Overwatch. There's a character that plays very similar to like what you would experience in Quake. There's a character that very similar to what you would experience in Team Fortress. There's another one that also has a little bit of a nod to games like Call of Duty, even though the game itself is not designed like a run-and-gun shooter like that when it comes to multiplayer. There's a little bit of something for everyone if you're into first-person shooters, or if you're into kind of like multiplayer online first-person shooters. So that's why it's become so popular with so many people.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I didn't know about that stuff, so that's interesting. Go ahead, Deadpool.
Yeah, I was gonna say that that's another thing I really love about the game too. Like you mentioned Call of Duty and other first-person shooters. I feel like this game gets it right as far as the competitive nature and working together in a team. Because with Call of Duty, I mean, it's cool, but I got so sick of everybody just wants to go off on their own and rack up kills and pad their. Yeah, exactly. You can't do that on Overwatch because you actually have to work as a team. You got to strategize, otherwise you're gonna get your ass kicked. You can't just rush in by yourself and expect to kill like the whole team. Like, you can't do that in this game. You have to actually.
The game emphasizes that too. Now, the funny thing is, even in the menus, like when you're choosing your character before a matchup, the game tells you little pop-ups that show up that tells you like, oh, your team doesn't have a healer, your team doesn't have support, it doesn't have a tank, it doesn't have stuff like that. And I think people appreciate that because it happens throughout the entirety of the game. Even I think during matches in some cases where it'll give you like little notifications here and there of what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing, like what's happening with your teammates over here, what's going on with the objective. It rewards you for playing as a team, as a unit, which I think is phenomenal.
And I like that aspect as well, that it tells you what your team's missing and stuff, because that actually makes me try other characters that I probably wouldn't have tried otherwise. Because like I took a liking to a few set number of characters, but like whenever it tells you, oh, you need a healer or you need a support or you're lacking defense or offense, that makes me actually want to try out different characters that I didn't try before, and sometimes I end up really liking the character. So I really like that aspect to it as well, because it feels like there's always a new play style for you to adopt. So I like that aspect. But I will say one thing, like there's one kind of flaw of the game. And that's Bastion, the character Bastion.
You've been on that Bastion hate train.
He is seriously overpowered. Like, he's the most overpowered guy. Like, because what's happening now is you're seeing like teams with a bunch of Bastions, and like when that happens, it's like
there's going to be someone that discovers how to get around Bastion really bad, and it's just going to totally destroy that, because that's what happens with all these types of games. At like the very beginning, or at least for some period of time, there's that one like set of strategies or like builds that everybody gravitates to because it gets done so well. But then there's that one guy that comes along, that one person that comes along and finds that little kind of like fatal flaw in that chink of armor, and it just wrecks everybody afterwards, and it changes up the whole metagame afterwards. Now, one question I want to ask you guys that I think is very important, because this is Blizzard, okay? And they have games like Heroes of the Storm, and they have all these other things. Do you think you're going to start getting nods to other Blizzard franchises in something like Overwatch down the line? Like, will we get any nods from like World of Warcraft, or we get nods from any of their other games like that down the line?
I don't think so. I think they should keep it separate, because Overwatch could be its own thing. It can stand on its own. But I will say that they had the Titan game that was supposed to come out, and supposedly, a lot of the lore of Titan, of what Titan was going to be, is actually in Overwatch. So I guess that's cool to know.
Uh,
Right.
I think you're definitely going to get a nod to Warcraft because the movie is coming out soon. Um, I do envision they'll do something considering that that movie is coming out soon. I don't know what they'll
Like
do.
those stickers you could put on the wall, like a little Warcraft sticker, something like stuff like that. To me, I think is cool. Like I don't want to see
Yeah.
like a Diablo character. I don't want to see a World of Warcraft character in this game. I think like I'm with Gary on that one. Let it be its own thing like that. But I'll definitely pretty sure you'll get that little bit of cross promotion, like little tiny little Easter eggs or little tiny things here and there.
Yeah, maybe like they can do because you can unlock sprays and like cosmetic stuff. So maybe they'll do some cosmetic based stuff based on Warcraft and Diablo and stuff like that.
Well, I will say this. Now that you guys have explained it a little bit more, yeah, maybe the game is something that I definitely, absolutely, positively will invest in. It does sound like it's a game that requires that you have competent teammates, and that
Oh
is
yeah. Oh yeah.
because let me tell you something about this little game that I'm reviewing called Battleborn. When I first played the game, like when I first started on launch day, didn't it, I tried to get matched up with teammates. There was literally no one available. So I ended up going into the match. Had I believe no, it was just me, no computer, nothing. Ended up beating the level without any problem whatsoever. And then what I did see is once you do have a team, of course that raises the difficulty level. It makes it more challenging. But again, the teammates I had, they was absolutely useless, and they did not help me at all when we needed to work together. So we didn't complete the mission. So this is a game that, of course, dependent upon team, and I did see that as well because right now Microsoft has a campaign. If you're like an Xbox Live Rewards member, where they are allowing you to basically get other people involved, they give you that option. They basically try to promote you and tell you you need to get others involved. And they give you bonus points and all this other stuff if you actually get other people to buy the game, so on and so forth. So one of those games very heavily dependent on team. So, yeah. One final question I did want to ask about this, though. You said that it has a lot of personalities. You said that it's just an overall great game. So, because this is doing well, and it's because it's only a multiplayer-centric game, do you think that we'll now see even more only multiplayer-centric games? Because we've already seen Evolve, we've already seen Titanfall, you've already seen Battlefield. So do you believe we'll see more now because this has proven to be a successful
No.
business model?
No, I
No?
don't think so. I think that type of discussion, I think it's more situational each game because you could say the exact same thing about Star Wars Battlefront, since we mentioned it before. Star
Mm-hmm.
Wars Battlefront, a lot of people were kind of assuming, specifically because it was based off of like earlier games in the series, that it would have a little bit much more multiplayer-centric content, even though EA and DICE said it wouldn't be. That series is getting an actual change right now that I feel like the next Battlefront or down the line, they're going to implement more single-player type of content outside of the multiplayer stuff they've already built upon. With this one, I feel like, again, that's what that game was kind of designed for, and there was no other preconceived notions about it, and it was more of kind of like, okay, let's go in and actually see this and such. That actually worked out in their favor. You can say the same thing about something like Team Fortress 2 or Quake, for that matter. Those are games that are designed specifically to be that. There is no other type of stuff that people have to have some sort of expectations or they're going to want to see afterwards. Do you necessarily need single player like story content now with Overwatch? I don't think so. I think it'd be kind of cool, but I feel like the core game itself with the multiplayer stuff or all the arena type of shooter stuff, I think it's fine as it is on its own.
I feel like, yeah, we're gonna see a lot more online only first-person shooters, and that's because like I've heard that it's cheaper like for developers to make this kind of game because like it's more expensive. Like you need a much bigger budget to make a shooter with a campaign and online, but with an online game, it's fairly cheap because like you can get the netcode made, or you can like borrow it from somewhere that's already has it kind of produced, and then you can just put all your stuff into the code or whatever, and all your characters and your designs or whatever. So I feel like because it's so cheap to manufacture and people seem to actually buy these games, I feel like we're going to see an influx. Like it's going to be a lot of them. I mean, we already have stuff like Paragon coming, and There's a lot of other, online only stuff coming out. So I do feel like, there's going to be an abundance of things. But I hope it won't be too much because obviously it will start to get saturated eventually. So I don't want that to happen. But this game has made me realize how much I kind of miss arena shooters like Quake. So I wouldn't mind seeing another Quake. And I think that's something they're thinking about doing as well because Doom went down really well. Like it got well received. And it's the same team that's, I think it's the same team that does Quake. So I think they're thinking about, bringing another Quake into the mix. And that would be pretty cool if they did that.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I also do think there will be some more online only multiplayer games. Maybe not quite as much. We'll have to see. But to play off what Mr. Lugo said about Battlefront, they better sure as hell hope that there's a campaign, because if not, Finn will come after them on Twitter like he did the last time, asking where the hell is the single-player campaign, and that is not a good look for EA. When you have an actor coming after you, asking you where's the single-player content. So we'll see about that. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, EA definitely messed up there with Battlefield. Like they could have done so much with that. Like you had the Star Wars license, man. How'd you mess that up? Like,
I think you know what I think also there was an assumption also because remember they have another Star Wars game coming out from the Visceral team that is also being headed by Amy Hennig, which I'm hoping we hear about when we go to E3 now, next month. That could have been a byproduct of that, but I think that they're going to kind of shift direction now. Whenever the next Battlefront or whatever iteration it's going to be, maybe they'll call it Battlefront 2 again or Battlefront whatever. They'll actually focus a little bit more on single-player content besides the multiplayer.
Yeah, and also to piggyback off of that, Respawn is also working on a Star Wars game, so I'm pretty sure we'll hear about both of those to some degree at the EA conference, because they have to start talking about it at some point. Battlefront, they already said there will be a Battlefront 2, but that's not until next year, so I don't think that you'll hear about that too much. But these other two, I would have to think that one of them is going to be coming sooner. One of them should be here before E3 next year, so they probably are going to talk about it. But we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Overwatch, I think you guys convinced me to look into it a little bit further. Still don't think I would pay $60 for it, but yeah, we'll see.
I would say for you should wait till it goes down in price. I'm actually kind of upset they don't have the multiple tiers on console because I feel like that's what they should have did. Because
Here's the question though. Does this game have crossplay, and is it going to have crossplay?
No, not as far as I know.
No, I don't think it will ever have crossplay because the thing is, like, you can be so accurate with the mouse and keyboard, and I feel like with this game, because this game is so precise, like it's so fast, it's fast and frantic. I feel like it would be unfair to match up PC players with console players in this game in particular.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't think we'll see crossplay.
That's unfortunate, but I understand. Well, we'll see. Maybe PlayStation 4, Xbox One crossplay eventually. I mean, probably not. We'll see. Yeah, so any last words on this topic? We good to go?
No, we're good to go.
Good to go.
Everything. Just look out for my review.
Yes, I'll be looking out for that as well. So that concludes our show this week, ladies and gentlemen. Next week, of course, is the Sunday before E3, so pretty sure that we will talk about a few E3 things on that show because some people have been asking the questions. I did see some people ask about a cross-podcast collaboration with Throwdown. I don't know if that's going to happen. I do know that some of us may be on that Throwdown E3 show as well for that Thursday before E3, but we will, either way, we're definitely going to talk about some E3 stuff next week. Because maybe we'll know a little bit more information about some things by then. But in any event,
hype is real.
That's right, the hype is real. But in any event, we thank you all for listening to the show. Do you guys have any shout-outs you'd like to give? How about you go first, Mr. Lugo?
Yeah, I have a couple shout-outs I want to give. I want to give a shout-out to everybody that's been tuning into the show, been tuning into the podcast, been checking out the website, leaving us comments on the reviews. I appreciate that. We all do. Definitely also people who've been leaving comments on the video reviews and also has been sharing the video reviews that we've been putting up on the YouTube channel. I know I've done a couple of them so far, including Star Fox Zero, Star Fox Guard. I have another one that's probably going to be coming out for Odin Sphere as well when that review goes live. So definitely keep sharing them, leaving us likes on the videos, as well as also leaving us comments and leaving us suggestions, any type of feedback that you guys could give us, whether it's on the win reviews or on the video reviews. Put it out there for us. We're listening. We're definitely seeing them. We'll definitely respond or whatnot. Also, big shout outs to everybody that's over at San Francisco right now for Kinda Funny Live 2. They had a big show last night for everybody that was out there. And our boy, Kinda Funny Kevin, Kevin over there, he got engaged live on stage. So that was a cool deal. So big ups to Kevin over there. Congrats for him and his new bride, as well as everybody else that's out there experiencing the show. Sean, Trevor, Alex, Zyger, Nikki, everybody out there that's having a blast. Hope you guys are having a lot of fun. Have an extra slice of pizza and a beer for me when you guys can. But again, also, thank you everybody for checking out the website. Thank you for everybody following us on Twitter, interacting with us on all the shows, on all the Koalition stuff, and be expecting some good content, not only for the rest of the month here, because May is pretty much done, but also E3 right around the corner. A lot of big things that we got planned, a lot of stuff that we want to do, a lot of games that we want to talk about, a lot of people that we want to speak to when we're out there in LA. So cannot wait to go to E3 next month. It's only a couple weeks. The hype is real.
Absolutely. Yes. How about you, Mr. Deadpool? Any shout-outs?
Yeah, well, firstly, I just want to say I know everybody's wondering why I'm on this episode as Deadpool. It's because, I went to the London Comic Con this weekend, so, that's why, I'm Deadpool, just to celebrate the fact that I went to the Comic Con and it was a great show. And I wanted to give a big shout out to my friend Nigel of Mayamada. He's been on the show before. He's the guy that does the comics and the gaming events in London and stuff. So shouts to him. I spoke with him today about what he's doing with the comics and everything. So yeah, it was a good look that he was there. He was an exhibitor. He had his own stall set up and everything. And overall, it's just good to see all the different merchants. You got artists there, people pushing their independent work, and I love seeing that stuff. It inspires me to do things as well. So shouts to all those guys. I got a bunch of comics and stuff. So yeah, I'm happy. And yeah. I love going to the London Comic Con, even though it's nowhere near as big as the San Diego and the New York Comic Con. But it's good that London gets something, I guess. There's a lot of people who do cosplay, so this is their chance to show off all their cosplay work and all the stuff they do, all the stuff that goes into designing their outfits and stuff. Shouts to those people, the people that actually put in the effort. So yeah, big shouts to all those guys. And as usual, shouts to all of our listeners and the people who comment. Shouts to all the people in the Facebook group too. I am adding new people. If you donate to our Patreon, you'll get in instantly. But otherwise, I'm just gonna add in people, slowly as time moves on and stuff. Just because it's a real exclusive group. We talk about different topics in there. We talk about all the news that happens and stuff. And with E3 coming up, we're likely going to be giving away stuff in there like codes and, just different things like that. So it's worth being in that Facebook group if you do have Facebook. If you don't have it, we've still got the PlayStation community as well. Or you can just come to the website, and we're working on some things as well on the website and stuff. So look out. We'll have a lot of news about the website soon. So yeah, we're working on some things. So yeah, shouts to all the supporters. Shouts to M Collins and Gority. Shouts to you guys and everybody else who supports us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'd like to give a shout out to all the fans that continue to support the site. I want to give a very special shout out to Broken Games HD because I was actually on their podcast last week, the Gaming Assembly podcast. Awesome podcast, great people on that show. Don't be surprised if they make an appearance on this show in the future. It's very, very possible. But I wanted to thank them again for giving me the opportunity, and as well as Tony Polanco, because he was the one who contacted me about this opportunity. So definitely shout outs to them all. Thank you for that. And once again, thank you all for listening to the show. As Gary has already said, E3 is almost here. We do have quite a bit of things we're going to be doing in that group. So do look for being joined soon over time. But if you aren't in the group already, you definitely going to probably want to be in that group soon, because there's quite a bit of things that is going to happen right around E3 time. So stay tuned for that. So in the meantime, hope you guys have a great Memorial Day weekend. We will see you guys next week, and we will be talking about some E3 stuff next week. So stay tuned for next week's show. Till then, take care, take it easy, and have fun this weekend. Peace.
Yeah, have fun, people. Oh, and also shouts to Rams. Just wanted to say that as well, because he just sent me something great. So shouts to him.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, peace
Okay.
out, people.
The hype is real. The hype is indeed real. Get ready, people.